Hi, everyone. I'm back for another episode of Let's Talk About It with Izzy Bianco. Izzy, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have another Jersey girl on the show. And then also, we get another field hockey player. I'm so excited to talk about your experience at Louisville and on the junior national team for USA. It's so exciting whenever we get to talk with people who are just kind of like pushing it up another level and juggling multiple things at once. I think most of our viewers can relate to juggling things in some way. So, really
Mhm.
excited to hear about your experience today. So let's just start like it started with you getting to Louisville. And it sounds like maybe like your experience on the junior national team and in the Team USA pipeline was kind of going at the same time. Can you
Mhm.
talk about those two things and how you got involved with them?
Yeah, so I actually had as some people might like June 15th was just up for recruitment, and I actually had a very interesting recruiting journey. So, I graduated, I was a freshman in high school in 2018. And around that time, I'm an only child. My parents just took me any school that I wanted to. Very, very grateful for that. And I kind of saw everything. They would just take me to schools, take me to camps, and I just had a lot of opportunities to do that. So my freshman year of high school, I was 13 years old. I went out to Louisville for the first time, and around this was March of my freshman spring, so it's like 2019 at this point. I'm 13, and my club coach who was helping me with recruiting had told me that there was like an NCAA rule change coming up, and I was like, oh, like this is a little stressful. Like it was weird because I had been to so many schools, and I was kind of like, even though I was so young, I had so many experiences that I was like, oh, like I knew I wanted to play in like ACC or Big Ten, like a Big Time conference. I wanted to be at a really like sports invested school. And yeah, and I was focused on academics, but it wasn't like Ivy League or anything like that. But yeah, I just wanted like a really great sports atmosphere. And in March, I went to Louisville for the first time, played in like a little 7v7 tournament, loved the campus, and I came home and my coach is like, there's going to be a change. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, well, you either have to commit by May 1st or you have to wait 2 whole summers. And I was like,
All right.
I don't really know like if I want to do that. So I wound up committing April 30th of 2019. I was 14, and a lot of people were like, "You're crazy. Like how do you know?" But COVID happened. So it was kind of a blessing in disguise because a lot of the girls in my class couldn't go visit schools, couldn't see campuses, everything was shut down, and I was like, "Oh, like I already know where I'm going." And I just believe everything happens for a reason, and I'm still grateful that I picked Louisville, so it all worked out. And yeah, during this, I was doing USA as well. So it was kind of the same thing. It was shut down during COVID. But yeah, I've been a part of the pipeline, they call it, for since I've been, yeah, about 13, 14. And yeah, I've just gone through that as well.
Wow, that's so interesting, like hearing that about your Louisville story. So that idea of like the June 15th rule has come up on the show a couple of times now. I always tell people like I started playing volleyball at the same time some of my friends were like committing, like the time
Yeah.
because that June 15th rule that changed, like kind of really did change everything. And I think it happens slightly different times for every sport. When you think about that like COVID period and like you committing to Louisville so early, like, were there ever doubts in your mind as other people were going through the process of like, oh, maybe I've changed since I was in early high school and like maybe I made the decision too early?
There really wasn't. It's funny, like I didn't feel like I was very young, like, and I feel like my parents helped like ground me at a very young age where I like felt mature enough to make that decision. And they helped me and they sat me down and talked about pros and cons. It kind of wasn't just obviously I was 14. It wasn't like I was on my own in this, but yeah, I think throughout that whole process I was very confident in my decision, and just the support around from different friends, family members, stuff like that. I think people were like, you're very young, and there's probably a lot of opinions about that, but I think I knew what conference, I knew what school, I knew what type of coaching staff and environment I wanted to be in, and that wasn't really gonna change, I think, over the 2 years. But it was weird when June 15th did happen, going to my junior year, I like hadn't talked to my head coach on the phone, and then it was COVID, so I hadn't really seen her. And I get on the phone. She's like, "Oh, like, do you still want to come here?" And I was like, "Yeah, I still want to come here." So it was a good time.
Yeah, that's got to be so weird. Yeah, like so for me, I wasn't like committed or anything, but there had definitely been schools that had started to email me or I was emailing with them, and then it just kind of went silent. But for us, I think it was only like my time frame. Someone can fact check me if they'd like. I'm pretty sure that in my class, it was only like a 6-month time frame. Like it wasn't this like
Okay.
huge long thing because we were already like about to be the
Gotcha.
going into our junior year and everything like that. So it sounds to you like for you, part of the reason that maybe it was like an easier choice or like you kind of knew exactly what you wanted was because of like the competitiveness of the field hockey that you were looking for. I can imagine that being on the national team kind of showed that for you, like or like on the junior national team, like other girls within the pipeline or different things that you could see what schools they were going to, and you probably heard about different programs from them. How did being on the in the Team USA pipeline kind of affect your college decision making, especially with like you're saying ACC versus Big Ten? Like, what was that
Yeah,
about?
I think for field hockey, like the predominant, like now it's there's so many good programs in the top 20. My coach at school, I always says anyone in the top 20 could win a national championship, which is great and shows the sport's growing, which is super exciting. So I think yeah, at that time I wanted to be in a big conference that I knew like every team would be competitive, like no matter, and like that's what's so exciting is like every game is close. Every game's an overtime win or every game's a 1-0 win. Like no one's blowing each other out. I was like, I'm so competitive and I love that aspect of it. So yeah, so Big Ten and ACC for field hockey, like you don't have like 6 conferences that are like really big for field hockey. Big East is also very strong as well. So yeah, I was looking at a bunch of different schools in those conferences, and there was a couple girls in my class that had committed before that rule change to also like ACC Big Ten schools. One of my high school teammates committed to UNC. So just looking for that high level, I think.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it sounds like you kind of had like a community and like still have a community now between like
hmm
all the college players and then like this like pipeline, everything. How do you manage the two? That seems like a lot of field hockey.
Yeah, so it's a very busy year, I would say. So what's nice is they don't really overlap. Um Especially the junior programs, they do a really good job of like you're in your college season or you're in your high school season for girls that are doing that. And then after that, you're doing the USA stuff. So when you're in high school, you'd play your high school season. And then that spring, you'd be doing like club recruiting events, whatever you're doing. For college, it's okay, August through November is your college season. And then starting in January is when our camps will start. So that's some like that July before, there's always a big tournament where a bunch of college girls play or like previous USA girls, and they'll like pick a selection camp. And January will be like your first selection camp. And then it'll be like, I'll just say like 60 girls. And then from there, they'll cut it in the next camp. So then you'll go back in February, then they'll cut it again. So it's just like this like slow process of naming the team. And then by like February, March, they'll name like you're under 18, under 21, like whatever age group you're in, they'll name like that training squad. So it can be between 25 and 30 girls. And then you'll go back down the next month. So it's just like a continual process. You'll go down the next month and train together. And then probably that camp, like around April, they're picking your travel roster. And then every year there's a tournament, which around, again, April to July, there's some type of tour. The younger girls just went to the Netherlands, which is really cool. But for under 21, there's more qualifying tournaments. So you can qualify for like the Junior World Cup. You can qualify. So last summer I had the opportunity. This was in July. So before college, you're still in your off season technically. And we got to go to Canada. So that was like our tour. So they do a really good job of like, it doesn't really overlap, but this year actually it's overlapping. Our tour is over preseason. So it's like August 7th through 21st. So we kind of had to, all the college girls had to talk to our college coaches and just make sure that it was okay. But yeah, besides that, it usually doesn't overlap. You're kind of going back and forth between the two.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would be thinking about of like the conflict of that. Also, just thinking about, I mean, at some point, like, do I get a break, right? Like, just getting your body time to recover. How did like the coaches react to that? I feel like it's different than other activities. It's like you're still training, and then it's like you're training with the junior national
Yeah.
team. So it's
Yeah.
like,
It's
how's that
hard because it's
conversation
like,
go?
yeah, like you want to give your body that break and you want to find that like happy medium of like when do I rest and when am I hitting like my peak physical points for these like really big tournaments and stuff. And it's hard because Ellie, like for Louisville, they're super supportive and they knew from the first day I walked in there that my goal at the end of my 4 years is to get on the senior team. And they're very, very supportive of that, which I'm thankful for. So whenever I go to camps and everything like that, they're like, go, like whatever. There's no like hassle about it. But we had to talk with our under 21 coaches and our college coaches and basically and our academic advisors at school about just getting approval so that there was when they named the team, they didn't have to like retract back like anyone or like it was confident. Like these are the people that we're taking. And so yeah, just going to our coaches and being like, this is when our tour is and my coaches were like, oh, it sucks that it's, during preseason, especially like I'm gonna be a senior. So it's my last one and just like miss being there with the team and being in that environment. But it's also like you get a really good experience and then you get to go straight into college season coming off of a very like competitive tournament. So it preps you very well.
Yeah, so I want to connect this back to anyone who has listened or remembers to my episode with Caroline Ramsey about a year ago. Caroline talked about how she actually was kind of brought on to, I think, the junior national team, and then they eventually moved up while she was actually still at Cornell. And it came through kind of like a letter, and she kind of got invited to try out, where it kind of come up throughout like high school and now throughout college. I feel like there is definitely like, I don't know, a perspective. Like it's like this for volleyball too, where if you're not part of the national team pipeline or like the Team USA pipeline throughout high school and college, that you might not be able to have a lot of success in college. What is the breakdown like for your university and other top universities? Is it really, really common to have some USA like experience, or is it really not that necessary?
It's just something you do when you're younger as well. Like it was called like Futures when I was growing up. Now it's called Nexus. So it's like you start in like your region and your state, and then like from there you get invited to like the national tournament, and then like all the people around the country like meet and play each other. So it's another one of those just like really good recruitment opportunities. So like I think that's how it kind of starts out when you're younger. Is this is just another opportunity for me to play in front of college coaches. I want to do the USA stuff, and then you see over the years people start to drop out of it. You get so many other commitments in college and it's hard. It's every month in the spring. We're on a flight to Charlotte. So it's very hard to manage that, especially in your quote unquote off season of college field hockey. But yeah, I think it's very common still. I've played with a similar group of girls all the way from under 16s to now under 21s, and some of them are on the senior team now. So it's really cool to like grow up playing with all of us and then playing each other at college as well. But a lot of again, those Big Ten, ACC. It's kind of we have a kind of like random like we've got girls from Ivy, Big Ten, ACC, Big East, like all on the team, which is super cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you think about like you continuing to make that decision year after year to like come back and to train, what are the things that you're thinking about? I know you said senior national team is like a big goal for you. Is that kind of it for all of the girls, or like what are some things that people should be thinking about like when they're making this commitment?
So for field hockey, it's really hard because like volleyball, there's a pro league. For soccer, it's a lot bigger. Like you can play after college, and that's what is hard here in the U.S. with field hockey is that it's such an overseas sport, which a lot of people don't know. Like the Netherlands is very small, but it's the best program in the world for field hockey. They're phenomenal. So it's really not as big here in the US. So we don't have anything really after graduation. So I think that's why a lot of girls do the pipeline because then it's like you can make the senior team and keep playing. But it's kind of like if you don't make the senior team, you can't go and play for a professional team after college. So a lot of girls will just move on with their lives. Some girls go overseas and play. I thought about doing that a little bit, but yeah, you can go overseas and continue to play until you're like 60 years old, which is which is super cool. So you have that option as well, but again, it's you're picking your life up to move across the world. So
Yeah. Okay, I'm so curious because so I did this like a similar question with Ashana, who we actually both met at AthleteCon or you met at AthleteCon, and she was talking about their college dance schedule. Like, what is your year-to-year schedule? Like, I'm so intrigued. Like, I don't know. Like, can we start with like I don't know, August, like preseason? Like, take
mhm.
me through your field hockey like year by like
Yeah.
throughout the year.
So at Louisville, usually we're back like middle of July. So I'd say like that's when it starts at Louisville. We're there, just captain's practices, training, pickup, super, super fun time. And then preseason starts like the 7th, 8th of August around that time. So you're doing like your meetings, all that stuff. And then it's like 2 weeks of preseason, and you get into season. So it's August to beginning, middle of November, depending on how far you get in the tournament. And then Louisville, we get out super early. So like I'm home like first week of December usually. And then we're usually back at school starting training like that first week of July or January, like January 8th. And then that's like second week of January is when our first USA camp is. So then you're doing training 5 days a week for Louisville in the spring. Weekends are off, but then once a month in the spring, January, February, March, April, you're flying to Charlotte for a 3 to 4 day training camp. So I would get on in the spring, my schedule would be 5 days, whatever. And then that time of month when I have to go, that Thursday, I'd go to practice in the morning. I'd get on a flight. I'd fly to Charlotte. I'd be at training camp Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'd get back on a flight Sunday, and I'd be back at the field on Monday for Louisville. So, yeah, because it's not really, there's no USA in season. So that's kind of what our out of season looks like. And then, like I said, every year is a little bit different. This year, I got to come home, go back to Charlotte for a training camp, and then our tour is obviously in August. So I'm not going back to Louisville until the end of August this year, which is crazy.
Wow. And then, I mean, is Team USA like paying and like organizing these flights and like hotel and stuff for you? Is this kind of on you?
It's on us until you're on the senior team. So the junior teams aren't funded. Um, but yeah, so it's all like organized, but you have to pay for it until you're on the senior team.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so much commitment. Like honestly, like good for you, like doing this for so many years. I mean, just 4 years out of college of doing this is like I can't even it's like so crazy because I'm just thinking even like the weekends off in the spring, like that's when most athletes like consider themselves like NARP-ish, right?
Yeah.
You get your weekends and you get to do it, and it's like almost, every other weekend or so, like you're going to Charlotte and doing all that. So I have slowly become a field hockey fan because of Caroline and all this, and actually going to Syracuse too, like made a couple of friends on the field hockey team. So I have always seen UNC field hockey though, right? And I can imagine though, like be obviously like they have their like total dynasty in field hockey and all of this. But they're also in Charlotte. Now, I don't want to like, I'm not trying to bubble anything up, but I'm just wondering, like, do you think that there is like a big advantage, like, as like a field hockey player, like thinking about like where you want to go to school and like what you want to do, of like going to UNC or like going to schools closer to Charlotte just because of like that training and like all the opportunities? It seems like US field hockey is like really centered in like North Carolina a little bit.
Yeah, I would say you have great programs coming out of North Carolina. You have in such a close proximity, like Wake Forest, UNC, and Duke are all great programs. But I would just say field hockey is just such a heavily dominated East Coast sport in general. So you just have a lot of strong programs on the East Coast, like Virginia, UVA, great ACC school. But yeah, I would just say field hockey is just very East Coast dominant. So I think, yeah, I don't think being in closer to Charlotte has like a super strong advantage, like for like USA national team stuff. But I think again, like accessibility, you're going there every month. I have friends that are on the West Coast that travel to the East Coast, and it's definitely a lot. So I think the accessibility to get in your car and drive an hour rather than getting on a plane every month it's a little bit better for you.
Yeah, 100%. And then I'm also just thinking, I mean, you're obviously like at Louisville, you guys are playing on a very top level and very competitive programming team. What is it like making that shift back from like USA to like your college team, like each week? Like, right? Like, are there things at USA that you guys do, or like culture things or strategy things that are a little bit different than how you play at Louisville? And how do you manage that? Like, Sunday
Yeah.
you're doing it USA and Monday you're playing Louisville. Like, how is that?
Yeah, I think it's very similar, obviously, like tactics and just the game as a whole. But I think the biggest change is just like the pace at which they push us at USA is just everything's a sprint. Like we always say, run equals sprint, and you're sprinting everything. Where college game, like again, how your team plays might just be a little bit more controlled or a little bit different. So it gives you different. I can bring that speed then into Louisville, into my position, and just the things that I've learned in both atmospheres, like things that I might be trying at Louisville one week. I'm like, oh, I've been practicing the skill. Like I'm really confident, and I'm like, oh, I can do it at USA 3 weeks later. So I think it gives you a balance of you can work with different coaching staffs, you can learn different things in different environments, and kind of like weave their way into each other, which is really cool.
I love that. That was like something I was so curious about because that's something that comes up like when we were, especially more so in high school. Like it's
Hmm.
not very the USA system for volleyball is like a little bit different. Like it mostly is really over the summer and it's like so packaged and that you're not like going back and forth. But it's so interesting, like even in like club, like our high school and our club coaches would be like, they're teaching you one way, we want you to do it this way. Like there's always like, coaches always
Yeah, it's interesting. They do some like coaching summits and like conferences. So I think like our national team coaches and our junior national team coaches are trying to share like, okay, like these are the things that we're really working on with our senior team. How can we continue to build this into like the college? So then like all the college coaches are kind of on the same page of, okay, like these are the main hockey things that are being taught at the highest level. And how can then we incorporate into college? You see some similar things, but again, every coach, every team's going to have its own style. And yeah, I think it's cool to learn different things from different coaches.
Yeah, it's interesting. It sounds like it's kind of like this whole system. Uh,
Yeah.
I've asked you so much about field hockey. And before we wrap up, I just want to, I don't know, I want to give the audience an opportunity to learn something about you that has nothing to do with field hockey. I feel like you're doing that all the time. Is there anything that you wish people knew about you, and what you're doing outside of your sport and being an athlete?
As an athlete, I don't know if you have it at Syracuse, but I was vice president the past 2 years of our student athlete advisory committee, SAC. So I love being involved with that. I'm going to be the president this fall, so I'm super excited. I love just like giving back, and I love giving back to the community and volunteering. We take volunteering very, very seriously. Every student athlete has to do 20 hours, which I think is great, and it not forces you to get out in the community, but it makes you do stuff. And I think for like Louisville, there's no pro sports teams. So the city loves the college athletes. So I think anyway, if you can go to a business or a restaurant or a hospital, something like that, I think it's just like, oh, like Louisville student athletes, it creates this like environment where they get to know you on a deeper level. So I've had a really great opportunity, like working with some of our athletic directors and things like that within that space. And we do like a dodgeball tournament, we did a kickball tournament this spring, some like food drives, and yeah, I love giving back. So
That is so cool. I was not like really part of SAC at Cornell, but I always like went to all of the events and they did a spike ball tournament one year and that was
oh,
a
that's
huge
fun.
hit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
That's awesome. Izzy, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me.
Hey guys, it's Sydney. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Let's Talk About It. If you did, make sure to leave a review and send it to a friend. Let's keep this conversation going. I'll see you guys next week.